Hello, Ron back here for another video on Ron Brown's YouTube channel. And usually I cover a lot of technology gear in this channel. And today's going to be a slight departure on the technology. Well, it is technology related in a way. I bought myself a turntable for Christmas off my Christmas money. And I haven't owned a turntable for a long time. But I did keep my records, or at least my favorite records around, the ones I've valued. So, and I will be doing a kind of full review and overview of the turntable I selected. And you may, you probably won't be able to guess the turntable I got or whatever. There's a lot to choose from out there and a lot of factors, but that's a whole other video here. But what I'm here today is to talk about is LPs, records, long plays, 33 and the third, something from the way back here. And I know I have a lot of older subscribers on my channel, so maybe you'll get some value out of this. And if some new subscribers stop by, I think I will continue to do some record reviews if I get any positive feedback on this. So, sub up here. If are not interested in my technology reviews, you can still just, not watch this, just watch the LP reviews. But today I have an album that came out on, I got my, talking points here so I don't forget stuff here. On January 10th, 1964, yes, I was 4 years old at the time of this. What was released that day was the Introducing the Beatles. A lot of you aren't familiar with this album. It's on the Vee Jay record label here, as you can see in the corner here. And, it was preceded about a week later by the Capitol Records release of Meet the Beatles, an album probably more of you are familiar with than Introducing the Beatles by Vee Jay. Now, the short story here is a lot of people have videos about this that they give you every little detail. But at the time, in we'll say 63, when the Beatles first came to prominence in their, home country of England, the UK, they were on EMI Records, which at that time owned Capitol Records. EMI was the bigger company. And so their first album was released on EMI in the UK, I believe in either March or April of 2063. So Capitol had the option of releasing that album or any of the Beatles material in the U.S., but they chose not to, thinking that they won't be popular in the U.S. because at that point no UK bands had any success in any real degree in the U.S. yet. So because Capitol passed, Vee Jay took the option to release the material. Well, they released a single at some point in '63, and I forget what the songs on the single were, the A side and the B side. But didn't do well, so they just sat on the rest of the catalog and didn't do anything. Well, okay, around about the beginning of 1964, the Beatles were getting even some more popular in the U.S., and the Ed Sullivan Show, I think, was already scheduled on the agenda, so a lot of excitement was rolling around. So Vee Jay quickly rushed out Introducing the Beatles in January 10th that year. Let me check my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything here. No, I'm not. So far, I'm on point. In '64 that year, and they had the rights the whole time, but they wanted to rush this out and take advantage of the popularity. And of course, it did really well. What I have here is version 1 of the record, and what I mean by version 1 is this is the back side of the album here. And I don't know if I can get this. You can see the songs here, but so 2 of the songs were replaced on here. "Love Me Do" and "P.S. I Love You" were later replaced with "Ask Me Why" and "Please Please Me" on the second edition of this record, which came out about a week or 2 later. And so this version 1 is the more rare version of the 2. Different versions of this LP. Let me sit back a little bit further. That's one thing that makes this one a little bit more interesting here. And now, this is an album let me see if I can explain this. It only came out this one time at the beginning of 1964. Once it had its initial, actually 2 runs. It was never to be seen again. Maybe you could pick it up in record stores, through the first part of '64, and then after that you get it used or whatever. But it never got reprinted again, is what I'm trying to say. So, there were a lot of copies of this around because, again, they were the hot band. They were about to be the biggest band of all time. in early '64. So this sold like hotcakes when it came out. But again, there was never any reprints of this where, after this is what people bought, the Meet the Beatles from, now until the, up until even today, they still buy Meet the Beatles. But the second version came out with the 2 Chainz songs. That was the one I think had sold more copies of. But let's get a few things here now. I don't really know how much this is worth. I'm not a record collector per se, and this isn't in mint condition or anything like that. And I don't even know where I got this record. I've had it in my possession for as long as I can tell you. I'm 64 years old. I was born at the very end of 1959, so so again, I was only 4 years old when this record came out. But of course, I didn't buy it new at the record shop. I'm thinking I got a couple things. Maybe somebody gave this to me over the years. Maybe I picked it up at a used record shop, a yard sale. Maybe it was like my mother's record that was always around the house. I wish I knew where this record came from. I probably knew at some point, but my memory, has just lost it over the years. But it's a lot of fakes of this album's around too. A lot of bootlegs, and I think this is a bootleg. And it's a couple tells that say it isn't, and there's a couple tells that say it is a bootleg. But one of the tells is, if you can see this side of the album here, if you can't see George's shadow here, then it's a bootleg. But this does have a shadow in here, so that's a point to the thing that it's real. But now here's another thing here too. If it says stereophonic at the top there, that's a hint that it's a fake. Like apparently most of the real ones did not say stereophonic, to that across the top like that. So here's a tail from the back here. I gotta tap my screen here. Sorry, folks. This is to get it back on again. It went. It started to go dim on me. Okay, on Taste of Honey. If I can see that close enough, you see the chip on the E in honey. If you see that little chip, that indicates that it's that it's real. And I have a little chip there. So there's a couple tells. I have 2 tells that say it, say it is real or not fake, and one tell that says it is fake. It's stereophonic there, but on the the inside mine does not have a jacket sleeve on it. And here I did show you the back cover, and again, this album is not in in perfect condition. You can see that has like a rip or a glue spot or something in there on the paper, and on the back here has some kind of like a spot there. And there's a little rip up there and thing, but overall it's in pretty good condition for its age. From my era, what's amazing is it doesn't have somebody's name written on it, or or a sticker on it giving somebody's name. Usually back in those days, people wrote their names on the album so they could hopefully get them back someday. Okay, now here is the record itself. Here's side 1. And everything looks right. The VeeJay logo, the color band around the outside, that all looks right. But what indicates this is a fake is, you see at the top, I got it upside down, sorry. At the top, you see where it says Introducing the Beatles, and then below you see the spindle hole there, and then it says The Beatles below it. Well, the Beatles should be, on top there. Trying to set this up for you. The Beatles should be right under the Introducing the Beatles thing, and above the spindle and not below it. So that's probably the tell that it is a fake here. And you see how much dead wax space there is there too. That's another tell that maybe it's a fake too. And it's kind of it's kind of real thin. It's not very thick vinyl here too, which. That could indicate it's a fake too. So I think my copy, unfortunately, is a fake. I can tell it's going both ways, but I think it is a fake here. I don't know that anyway they have it 100% verified. Now here's another tale. It says it's right here. It's the SR 1062 number up there is one of the correct series of numbers too. So I have as many tells saying it's real as I do fake, but that in the Beatles being below the spindle hole instead of above it is kind of the number one indicator. And the number one indicator, mine is below, so it's saying it's fake. So I'm assuming I got a bootleg copy here, which again, This record was hot. People couldn't get their hands on it fast enough. I'm sure, people did a lot of bootlegs here. And just to give you the song selection here on this one, this is version 1. Version 2, I told you about the change already. This has I saw her standing there. Side 1, song 1, Misery, Anna, Chains, Boys, Love Me Do. Side 2 starts out with P.S. I Love You, Baby It's You, Do You Want to Know a Secret, A Taste of Honey, There's a Place, and Twist and Shout. And some of these is a mixture of Beatles originals and covers. I saw her standing there as a Beatles original. I'm going to look at the album so I can not get anything wrong here. Misery is an original McCartney Lennon. Anna is by Alexander. I forget the guy's first name. Arthur Alexander. Chains is by Carole King and her husband Golfin. Boys is by Dixon Farrell. That was a B-side of a girl group song. Love Me Do, of course, is a McCartney original. Lennon McCartney. P.S. I Love You is a Lennon McCartney. Baby It's You is by Hal David, Williams and Bacharach, the famous singers from the songwriters. Do You Want to Know Secrets, a McCartney Lennon original. And it's funny here, they have it backwards here. They have McCartney Lennon instead of Lennon McCartney. Almost all Beatles stuff is referred to as Lennon McCartney. So that's kind of odd here too. Taste of Honey is by Scott and Marrow. So not a Beatles original. There's a Place is a McCartney Lennon, and a Twist and Shout is a Medley and Russell thing, which the Ozzy Brothers made a big hit of that in the late 50s. So if anybody's going to correct me saying McCartney and Lennon backwards, the only reason I'm saying that's the way it's printed on this LP. Now, I don't know if only the bootlegs had it backwards where they said McCartney or Lennon, or whether that's the way even the non-bootlegs had it. So, okay, just a little history there. I know probably, most of you folks have never seen this album before, especially if you weren't not of record buying age in 1960, early 1964, or you're not a collector, you probably have never seen this album or even heard of this album before. They have some kind of different backs on them, than this. Some have a plain back. It's a couple different backs, but this is the most common back here. So, and what I said before, you cannot go to Spotify or Apple Music and stream this album. You cannot buy it on CD, cassette, 8-track. You cannot go to any record store in the world and buy a new copy of this now. It hasn't been released in a long time. So it's kind of a rarity. And in fact, now when I say you can't stream it, or anything on Spotify, Apple Music, no song on here is any rare song. These songs were all, eventually put on, American albums like, Meet the Beatles. These don't have the same playlist. They have, I'm going to say about maybe half the songs on Introducing the Beatles are also on Meet the Beatles, but they're, the song selection is somewhat similar. But back in these days, the early years, the UK and the US records all had kind of similar songs, but never the same. They were always switched around. Both these songs have the same amount of songs, 12. Usually the UK albums had more songs than the US ones did, because there were more US albums, because they would shave a couple songs off of each record and create a whole new album that did not exist in the UK, but of songs that, of course, were released in the UK, or combined non-album singles from the UK into American albums. It's kind of a interesting thing to follow, what marketing people, were doing back then to try to make every last dime out of the Beatles' early success, Beatlemania. So, I hope this was some interest to you. I plan on doing some more record stuff, related stuff, maybe even doing some album reviews, of some classic records. Also, this wasn't really a review, more of an oversight. I mean, the review is, all these songs are, great here. And if I'm going to do a Beatles album review, I don't want to start with something that's kind of not really a proper album, as far as, like the Beatles never intended this, this selection of songs to be an album, in the U.S., especially their first U.S. album, and their first and only album released on the Vee Jay, label. So, So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this foray into the rare records here, somewhat rare records. Like I don't know the value of this or whatever. I don't imagine it's too high, especially since I think I have a fake. But even if it was real, it's not mint condition. It's not in the plastic. I did play the record on my turntable, and surprisingly, I would have thought this. I thought it was going to be like a scratch city. It was going to be scratch and clicks and stuff all through record being that old. And I know I didn't buy it new, but it played amazingly well. So whoever had this record, however I got this, they didn't play it much, and that's really baffling. You'd think somebody that would have bought this record in January '65 would have wore it out on their old, their old little, probably portable turntable or whatever, but not being the case. It's played really well. So that was kind of a bit of a surprise. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this video before I talk too long. So if you want to see more, music-related stuff, album-related stuff, I mostly would concentrate on stuff I grew up with or whatever. All my records are older, so I got all the Beatles stuff, all the Beatles solo albums. So that's going to be, if you like the Beatles, you like their solo records, I'm going to be talking about them. If you hate the Beatles and you hate the solo records, this probably isn't going to be the channel for you. But, Rolling Stones, or The Who, from my UK people, Led Zeppelin, the US, Springsteen's going to be a lot of Springsteen stuff, the Eagles, just countless people from the 70s in US. Fleetwood Mac, which is kind of a hybrid UK, and then later, semi-US band. So I could go on. I can't think of all the people that I would have in the 70s, but Bob Seger, just I don't even want to go on and waste a lot of time. So please consider subscribing to the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you got anything out of this record, if this interested you. This is a shameless promotion part of the video here, and yeah, ring the bell notification so you'll know when I do put up a new video. And thanks for tuning in today. Watching me, taking a few minutes out of your day, to look back on a little bit of history there from the Beatles in early '64. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.